Hi, this is Dr. Paul Firnhaber. It's Wednesday, and it is time for another 10 minutes of truth. So glad to be with you today. Today I have another article on the subject of acetaminophen and autism, and I've covered some of these articles before. This is another one, and I just want to talk a little bit more about this. There's been a lot of debate, a lot of conversation, a lot of, I would say, heated debate about this subject. And it just seems like the evidence just keeps rolling out. This article today is out of JAMA Psychiatry. So this is a very, very high level psychiatric journal. Journal of the American Medical Association is one of the top 5 most authoritative medical journals in the world. So this is not some 3rd or 4th rate medical journal at all. The date on this is February 1st, 2020. So we're talking about, almost 6 years now when this was published. And we know that the rates of autism are exploding. 1 in 36 kids, is diagnosed on autism spectrum disorder. And in some places, I just heard this recently, in some places in California, it's like 1 in 10, which is just insane. There's been a lot of, depending on who you listen to or who's talking about it, they're saying, well, they just, they're better diagnosticians, or there's a better diagnosis now, and the definition of autism is really broad. And well, I kind of would beg to differ on that. One of the people I recently listened to, I watched a podcast by Peter Attia, who's a longevity guy. He was a cancer surgeon at Johns Hopkins. He wrote the book Outlive, which I like the book. I've read it recently. And he was saying, well, the autism acetaminophen connection isn't that big of a deal. It's not, autism is gotten a lot worse because we're better at diagnosing it. Well, I'm the age of Peter Attia's parents. I'm at that age. And I can tell you this, I grew up in the 60s, came of age in the 60s and early 70s. And I can tell you, autism wasn't even close then to what it is now. Not even close. And we didn't have near as much neurodevelopmental abnormalities then as we do now. And so I really think that there's a little denial going on here in the medical profession and in the pharmaceutical industry. That's just my opinion. But I want to go over this article. So the name of this article is Association of Cord Plasma Biomarkers in Utero Acetaminophen Exposure with Risk of Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder and Autism Spectrum Disorder in Childhood. And basically what this article did, and I think it's very interesting, is they took 996 mothers whose infants were ready to deliver, close to delivery, and they looked at the cord blood of these infants, or I guess it would have been after delivery, and they looked at the cord blood of these infants, and they measured it for acetaminophen metabolites, or the breakdown products of acetaminophen. And basically what they found was that there is a direct relationship between the kids that became autistic and the amount of acetaminophen in the cord blood. So I just want to read you some things out of here. Animal studies report acetaminophen toxicity in cortical neurons and inhibition of fetal testosterone production, which would critically disrupt brain development. Now, that's in animals, and you can't always compare animals and human beings, But then they go on to say in this article, human studies have found that acetaminophen could cross the human placental barrier and remain in an infant's blood circulation for a long duration. A longer duration of reported use was associated with a higher risk of attention deficit hyperactive disorder. They go on to say this, that the American Academy of Pediatrics grand rounds concluded that there's no definitive link between acetaminophen exposure and ADHD. Or this article here that we're quoting out of begs to differ. And it said the cord plasma metabolites provide a direct measurement of fetal acetaminophen exposure before delivery. All cord acetaminophen metabolites showed similar significant positive association with the risk of ADHD diagnosis. The positive associations between cord acetaminophen and ADHD in the cord acetaminophen and autism spectrum disorder were observed across a strata of pertinent covariates, including maternal fever during pregnancy, which is an indicator for acetaminophen use. It said the odds of an increased risk of autism spectrum disorder and ADHD with acetaminophen metabolites ranges from 69% higher to 238% higher. So they concluded, it says, our findings support previous studies regarding the association between prenatal and perinatal acetaminophen exposure in childhood neurodevelopmental risk with warranted additional investigations. So it's important to understand here that there is a risk and there is an association between mothers that take acetaminophen and the risk of neurodevelopmental disorders in their kids, in their offspring. And I think that it just seems like one article after another is coming out expressing this view. And I don't think this can be ignored. I don't think we should ignore it. And I think this needs to be talked about. I know Robert Kennedy's talked about it a lot, and I think we need to investigate it a lot more. But again, this article is coming out from JAMA Psychiatry, which is a pretty high-level journal. So my thought on this is if you're pregnant, I'm not saying, one or two exposures of acetaminophen is going to make your child autistic, but you need to be careful. This next winter, I'm going to be doing a 30-minute talk on autism on a Tuesday night. We're going to be talking a lot about what causes it, because this acetaminophen isn't the only issue. There's some other pretty serious causes and issues related to autism, and even the definition of mental retardation has changed. And so we're going to be looking at that very carefully this winter, and I'm putting this talk together, and I'm sure that this paper that I just read will go into that talk. So bear in mind what I just went over, and if you have children or that are having kids, it'd be a good idea to talk to them about this. So that is all I have for today. I would recommend that you maybe do some of your own research on this and see what you find. There's lots and lots of scientific studies on acetaminophen and autism. And so you can look at those studies, you can find them, and they're out there. So this is all I have for today. I'm Dr. Paul Firnhaber here at Lincoln Disc and Nutrition in Lincoln, Nebraska. And if you want to get in touch with us, you want to have us look at one of your health concerns, we do low force chiropractic and functional medicine and animal chiropractic as well. My number is 402-488-2220. We'd be happy to take a look at you anytime. I'll see you next week.